rebuilding. The catastrophic failure, a new start. Physically, mentally, our careers, our businesses. Step back, first step, next step. The driver in me just wants to get it done tomorrow. We'll do this, do that, let's move this, where are we at with this? You build some confidence, build some self-esteem, start to feel better about yourself. The Silverback Blueprint Podcast, a show for men over 40. We focus on getting stronger, staying motivated, building discipline, creating a community, and becoming truly happy. Hey guys, and welcome to episode 77 of the Silverback Blueprint Podcast. How good do you want to be? What I want to talk about today is just really, how to turn that switch on inside our own minds, right? To take us to that next level. And here's the one thing that I often deal with, because at the end of the day, the podcast is important to me. It's actually therapeutic for me because I get to talk about things that I'm thinking about and that I'm working on. So I find that really helps. I write notes for the show now. I never did that before. I'm just getting better at it and putting more stuff in. I'm not bragging, guys. There's a lot to improve upon, but two of you guys have liked me already out there, so that's pretty cool. But the one thing I want to get out before I go any further into this episode is that I talk a lot about how to improve and what to do and stuff like that. And by no means am I saying that I've mastered that all. And I'm pontificating from the top of a mountain and stuff like that. I'm still a third of the way up that fucking mountain. And some days I'm sliding back 20 feet and stuff, right? So that's the one thing I wanted to get out there, because I was talking to someone and they said something interesting. So, Kurt, it's great. You've got all your shit figured out. And I'm like, no, dude, I don't. I'm figuring it out. And I'm kind of figuring it out with you guys, right? And, by having this podcast and having this commitment to the podcast, it's making me look at things and working on things even better. And not that I'm becoming better faster, if that makes any sense. I'm not mastering, I'm not a fucking, level 3 jiu-jitsu black belt fucking level anything. But because I'm actively working it and I'm working on sharing it with you guys and looking to help you guys, it's making me do better, if that makes sense. I'm progressing, sometimes a lot, sometimes a little. Sometimes I'm sliding back a little bit and stuff like that. But that purpose of the podcast and the goal of me, making a better version of myself is more of a reality, and part and parcel because I'm looking to try to lead my listeners while I do it at the same time. So that kind of responsibility that I put on myself helps me be better at it, better focused on it, more consistent on it, so that I can get better at walking the walk as much as talking the talk. So by no means, guys, am I sitting there and I figured it out and Luke and I are sitting on fucking big mattresses of cash and that kind of stuff, right? You guys are along for the journey. You guys are all, witnessing the fucking, the bus ride with us. And to me, that's something that's important that I want to get out there and I want people to understand. And keeps me humble, all right, that kind of thing, because there's a lot to do, right? And that's that social contract I'm putting out there with the podcast, is that I better fucking work on these things too. Then, do you know what I mean? Like if you come back in 6 months from now, a year from now, and I'm no further, right? Then I'm going to feel like a hypocrite, right? And I don't want that. So that's the whole thing. I want to make sure that people understand that I'm working this with you guys. Right? On some things I might be a little ahead, some things I might be a little bit behind, but you know what? We're moving forward together on this. So, you guys are super important to my success on this, because, you're, one of the reasons why I get up and do these things is because we're creating some listeners and some followers and stuff. And I want to follow through on my commitment to you guys. So like I said, hang on guys, let's see where this fucking thing goes. You know what I mean? So when we talk about how good do we want to be, we have to sort of have that reality check with ourselves and sometimes grab ourselves by the collar and stuff and just basically say, listen, how long are we going to wait before we demand better for ourselves? Right? It's up to us. And I mean demand better from ourselves, from whether it's in your job, in your business, in my case, as a father, as a son, as a brother, right? As a friend, as a leader, right? As a motivator. I love those titles, and I want those titles, and I want to earn those. I like that position. I like that's who I am and who I want to be and who I want to keep improving as. I get lots of messages where people are finding with the stuff that we're doing in the gym and on the podcast and on the websites and stuff, thanking us and telling me stories of how it's helping them, it's helped them, and it's motivational, inspirational. Just the other day, I shared yesterday was my 1200th day sober, or was it Wednesday? I can't remember. So long ago. 1200 days of being sober, right? And I don't do that to brag. I do it to give it acknowledgement, to give it respect, but also to help other people out there that are struggling, that, sometimes just need to hear that's possible so that they can maybe make a change in their life. And every once in a while when I do post something about my sobriety, and you guys by now know I'm a pretty open book on stuff like that, right? And pretty much anything I'm doing, I always will get a couple of messages. Hey, Kurt, way to go, great job, but I'm struggling. How do I start? Where do I go? I've taken a couple guys to meetings. I've sent them information, or I'll hear from guys that's, hey, Kurt, just want to share. I'm 10 years sober, or one guy texted me, messaged me the other day. I had no clue, 20 years sober, and he's doing some other really cool stuff to help others. Do you know what I mean? So it's powerful. And it's putting yourself out there and seeing what's up there, and the things that you attract because of that, and being, trying to be honest and let people know that, hey, listen, every day is a struggle sometimes too, right? But it's up to us. It's totally up to us, right? Whether we finally work towards becoming the person we want to be, to the level that we want to be, it's our sole responsibility. No one owes that to us. Not our parents, not our friends, not our spouses, our wives, our partners, right? Your blow up mannequin, whatever you're into, right? It's not, they don't owe it. It's not their responsibility, right? It's your responsibility. It's my responsibility. None of it's going to be easy. That's why very few people achieve it, right? But at the end of the day, it's totally up to us. And, to get to that point and be able to be real about that, we have to put ourselves in a place where we can start to believe that we're truly worth it. And that's what we have to do. You have to honestly believe that you're worth more than that, right? You're worth it. I tell people that all the time when they come into the gym and they want to make changes and stuff. And, they look at, we talk about pricing and stuff, and, they'll sit there and say, oh, it's this much per month or that much for that program. I said, the first thing I'll tell them is, guys, you're worth it. You truly are. In fact, every dollar that we put into our self-improvement will come back 10x minimum, right? Put it in comparison, right? In perspective, how much money do we spend on booze? And I'm not saying that because, I'm sober. I'm just saying, how much money do you spend on booze? I used to spend a fuck ton. How much money do we spend on pizza? How many times I run into someone who comes in, they want to make changes, and I see they really want to make the change, and they want something to commit, but, they're just, it's foreign to them to spend some money on themselves on this kind of stuff. However, within weeks, I'll see a post that they've gone down south for a vacation. But I'll tell you right now, I know for a fact they're not enjoying that vacation to the level they could, because they're not happy with themselves. They're not happy with their bodies. They're not happy with their mind. They're not happy with their energy. Right? So they'll spend $2,000 to go down south and not be happy, not truly enjoy it, not truly appreciate it. To me, that doesn't make any sense. I'm more like, why don't you invest in yourself, better yourself, because you want to, not because I'm fucking telling you to do it, because you want to. I can see it. I can feel it. I can sense it. Right? Because I deal with it and I work on it all the time. I always want to be better. When I went to Europe, it was one of the most amazing things I've ever done in my life. But it's because I was ready for it. Do you know what I mean? I was still a big powerlifter guy, but you know what? I swam and I did everything, and I climbed and I did all the stuff I wanted to do. I did all the stuff that people younger than me couldn't do because physically they didn't have the energy, or they didn't have the courage. They didn't have the self-esteem. And I sat there and I would watch, and I was like, man, that's terrible. We did this one thing I've talked about before where we had to go to a hot spring And we had just finished climbing to the top of Santorini, a volcanic island. That, you know, it was like fucking, it was a kick-ass ride to the top, and standing on top and just seeing it, knowing that I got to the top and it kicked my ass, and then coming back down and then getting back on the boat, and then we jump on and we go over a few minutes to another island, and there's a hot spring. You know, and what sounds better than after a big fucking hike where you're exhausted is jumping into a hot spring in the hot water and stuff, and swimming in the Aegean Sea. I mean, come on. But as we get there, I say, guys, this is what it is, but you got to jump off the boat and you got to swim. Now, it wasn't Lake Ontario. I didn't have to swim, for 48 hours and stuff like that. But I'm a big guy and I don't swim, distance. But I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. But I told my wife, you go ahead. I'm going to jump in. I might be a little bit slower because I don't know what's there. And but got up, jumped into the ocean or the sea and swam my ass over there. And it wasn't bad. It was cool. And it got to the hot spring. It was lukewarm, but it was cool. And then it was time to go back. And just before they said, they had said 10 minutes left, I said, I'll head back now because I am a slower swimmer, right? So I started swimming, get there, get to the boat, climb up the boat, come inside. And you know what? I fucking loved it. I loved it because it was an amazing experience, but I loved it because I had the courage to jump off a fucking boat at 340 pounds, right? Swim my ass over, do something. And when I came back, you could see it on some of those people's faces that didn't do it, that they fucking really wanted to do it. Right? So it's about putting yourself in a situation. It's about starting to look at how can I make myself better? What are the stages? Right? Inside of all of us, we have like that ultimate person we want to be. I truly believe it. If we could sit there and just, press a button, swallow a pill, chant a chant, and that person would magically come out. Right? You'd be 6 feet tall. You'd weigh 240 pounds. You'd have abs. You'd speak 7 languages and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? You'd be able to do all these things that you really want to do, but we haven't done it. We haven't invested that into ourselves. We haven't worked towards it. So it seems so far away, but it doesn't mean that we don't fucking want it. So when you want to be better and you want to really go to that next level, what we need to do is put ourselves in situations that starts to improve us. Now, for me, obviously, the gym is a big one. Right? Getting stronger, building your energy systems, right? Nothing feels better than a great workout, the endorphin release, getting a little bit leaner, feeling the muscles get tighter and stronger and stuff. It's a rush. And to me, I think it's the fastest way to start making those changes and stuff like that, right? Because then that starts building some confidence and some self-esteem. And then what's next? Well, I'm going to start eating a little bit better. I know, I want to be like, Kurt, you were talking to me about protein the other day. Well, now I'm ready to hear about it because I want to do the next level. So then you start adding a protein to your diet. You start making the smart things happen that make a huge difference, right? And to me, that is how we do it. We start chipping away at it. And as we improve our self-esteem and our self-worth, then a really cool thing starts to happen. We start to form a higher level of self-respect, right? We all have someone in our life that we truly respect, right? We look up to them. We admire them. If they called us or emailed and they needed our help with something, we would fucking drop everything to go help them. So my challenge is make that you. Create that higher level of self-respect so that you want to get up and get yourself to the gym. And you want to get up and make yourself a better meal because you want to do that for you. Because you respect yourself that much. Again, guys, not easy. But you start getting better at it. We can build these areas by starting to do the right things. And often the right thing is the hard thing. And that's the other thing too that shies us away from it. Because we get a little lazy. We get a little, we're not forced by fire to do something. We're not wondering how we're going to find a place to keep a roof over our head out of the elements because we've been wandering in the wilderness. Right? All those things have been taken off the plate. The hierarchy of our needs have been answered to such a level physically and materialistically, especially where we live, in Canada, North America, right? That we've lost that urge and that fight to improve and to prepare and to get ready. We've lost that reason for that survival instinct. And I think that really is a huge disconnect for us emotionally and spiritually as well. Because at the end of the day, whether I get up at 6 this morning or I get up at 9 this morning, immediately my life isn't going to make a big difference. Right? Because I don't have anything, if I don't have anything scheduled till 10, I'm like, I'll get up at 8:30. Right? One of the reasons why I like driving my kid into school because I have to get up at 7:30. Because I could sleep in till 10 and still get the stuff I want to get done. But by getting up earlier, I get more done. That makes sense? Right? But at the end of the day, we need to work on things to build that self-respect. We need to work on improving ourselves so we get that 10x return, right? Sometimes the accomplishment of I haven't worked out in 6 months, and now in the last 2 weeks, I've worked out 3 days a week. That's a small victory, and that should be celebrated. That should be acknowledged, and that should be built upon, right? It's those small things. That Al Pacino famous, what's that football movie? Any Given Sunday. And he gives that a really cool speech. If you listen to motivational speeches on the internets and stuff like that, you know, that speech he gives the football team for the second half, you know, is really cool. I really like it. And the one line I like overall is that he talks about fighting for that inch, clawing with your fingernails for that inch, you know, an inch here, an inch there, because he says when you add up all the fucking inches, that's what makes the difference between winning and losing. That's what makes all the difference between success and failure. So it's the little things done right. It's the things that we know they need to get done, the right things and the hard things that we get better at doing, and doing them in small amounts and get better at it and then do them bigger, and then we start getting some momentum and stuff. That makes the difference between success and failure. That'll move you towards that ultimate you that you want to be, how good you want to be in whatever you're doing, right? Will start to become tougher. We're going to hold ourselves up to review, and we're going to hold ourselves up to accountability better because we want to see our progress. We talked about earlier in an earlier episode, you know, clarity of intention. If you don't know what you want to do and why you want to do it, how will you know how well you're doing towards that? So when you start doing that and you start working towards things and you start building that, you've got a baseline of comparison that you want to work. And what happens, guys, is that the higher we hold ourselves to a higher level, we strengthen our soul, we strengthen our mind, we strengthen our bodies. And the bottom line is, and this is the bottom line, you just have to start. And you have to start now. Finish listening to the podcast first. But you know what I mean? It really comes down to you make a decision, you stand, and we've done it before. I said you stand the fuck up, and you go do something you know that has to get done. Now, it might be something as simple as take the fucking garbage out, right? But stand up and go do it. It might be that conversation you've been needing to have with someone to deal with something that you've been putting off. Stand up and do it. I did that in the beginning of the new year. There was 3 emails I had to send that I knew I had to send because there was issues I had to deal with, and I determined that an email was the best way to do it, to trigger the conversation. And I sat there January 2nd, and I sent off those 3 emails. And the two of those 3 emails have led to a discussion and a resolution. The third one, nothing's happened. But bottom line is, I took that action for some stuff that was bugging me that I had to get done, and 2 out of 3 got resolved. And at least the third one, my intentions are clear. I cleared it off my list, and whatever happens, happens. But I didn't sit there and wallow it anymore. So guys, it comes down to everything we talked about right now is you got to stand the fuck up. You got to start now. And as always, guys, work hard, motherfuckers. That's the only way we're going to get through it. Guys, that's all I have to say about that for now. Head on over to iTunes or at the end of this episode, click a 5-star review. Tell us how awesome you're finding what we're doing. If you think I'm full of shit, tell me that too. As long as there's a 5-star review, I don't care. Head on over to hostilegear.com, guys. Use Silverback as a discount code. Get 20% off anything you want off the website. I mean, anything off the website. And I'll talk to you guys later.